Minutes before Iran's attack, gunmen went on a shooting spree in Tel Aviv, killing at least 6 people and wounding 9 others. 2 gunmen got off a tram and opened fire on passers-by before they were shot dead by security forces and an armed civilian. Police labeled the incident as a terrorist attack, but there was no immediate claim of responsibility from armed Palestinian factions or other militant groups. Medics and paramedics provided on-site treatment to a number of wounded people with varying degrees of injuries, including some who were unconscious. Japan's newly elected Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has pledged to maintain his country's strong alliance with the U.S. It comes as the new premier tries to boost his slow economy and regain public trust ahead of a national election later this month. Ishiba said he would like to continue strengthening Japan's defense cooperation with the U.S., building on what his predecessor Fumio Kishida achieved. He also condemned Iran's latest missile attack on Israel. Speaking to reporters at the Prime Minister's office for the first time following a palace ceremony, Ishiba called for stronger military cooperation with like-minded partners. He has been vocal about forming a regional NATO-like alliance to counter perceived threats from China, North Korea, and Russia. Back locally, the government launched a public consultation in July in the proposed legislative framework to enhance protection of the computer systems of critical infrastructure. With that, the Security Bureau is set to introduce multiple policy enhancements. They include extending the time limit for reporting serious incidents to within 12 hours. In 2022, the administration proposed in a policy address to strengthen the security of computer systems of critical infrastructure and minimize the chance of essential service being disrupted through legislation. The Security Bureau introduced a legislative framework in June. The proposal encompasses 8 categories, including energy, banking and financial services, and information technology. They also cover digital infrastructure for maintaining major sports and performance venues and research and development parks. Operators are responsible for ensuring the continuous functioning of computer systems involving core functions and services. The government has set up a dedicated office to monitor the operations. Following a 1-month public consultation in July, the Security Bureau received 53 submissions with over 600 comments or suggestions. Most are in favor of the proposed framework, with 1 against it, which was from a human rights group registered in the UK. Addressing concerns that it could be difficult to report serious accidents within 2 hours, the Bureau has taken reference from practices in the UK and the European Union and will consider relaxing the notification time limit to 12 hours. The dedicated office will also proactively investigate whether there are hackers involved when such incidents arise. Some comments also noted the difficulty to ensure contractors comply with the agreements and the law, and whether the main operators will face criminal liability. The Bureau said the responsibility won't fall on the contractors, and more guidance will be elucidated through the Code of Practice in future. The government said the legislative framework will be submitted to the Legislative Council for scrutiny by the end of the year. It is expected to come into force in 2026. A man was today found guilty of inciting to wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm after posting on social media on how to murder former chief executive Carrie Lam. In 2020, the unemployed 61-year-old man wrote on his Facebook page on the need to think about how to murder Carrie Lam. The man also asked others to help him find weapons and bullets in the comment section of the post. He pleaded not guilty. The court convicted him and he will be sentenced on Monday. Macau sole candidate for Chief Executive Sam Ho-fai today conducted his first district visit. Sam said he will strive to improve people's living environment. This is Yao Han Estate, the place Sam visited in the morning. The estate has 46 buildings with more than 12,000 residents. Being a project of the old neighborhood redevelopment, Sam said the existing living environment is too crowded. He said the neighborhood has insufficient facilities, and he will focus on these aspects once he is chief executive. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has told European lawmakers that his guilty plea to U.S. espionage accusations was necessary because legal and political efforts to protect his freedom were not sufficient. He said he was freed after years of incarceration because he pled guilty to journalism. Tracy Furness has more.
Speaking to the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, which includes lawmakers from 46 European countries, Julian Assange gave his first public remarks Tuesday since being released from prison in June. The founder of whistleblower media group WikiLeaks gave evidence to the Legal Affairs and Human Rights Committee of the impact his detention had on him.
The experience of isolation for years in a small cell is difficult to convey. It strips away one's sense of self, leaving only the raw essence of existence. I am yet not fully equipped to speak about what I have endured, the relentless struggle to stay alive, both physically and mentally.
Assange says he chose freedom over justice.
Justice, for me, is now precluded as the US government insisted in writing into its plea agreement that I cannot file a case at the European Court of Human Rights or even a Freedom of Information Act request over what it did to me as a result of its extradition request. I want to be totally clear. I am not free today because the system worked. I am free today after years of incarceration because I pled guilty to journalism. I pled guilty to seeking information from a source.
The 53-year-old Australian was released after 5 years in a British prison after he pleaded guilty to obtaining and publishing US military secrets, which included documents on Washington's wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. The deal with Justice Department prosecutors concluded a 14-year legal saga. Prior to his time in prison, he had spent 7 years in self-imposed exile in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, where he claimed asylum on grounds of political persecutions. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter has turned 100. It is the first time an American president has lived a full century. Carter was the 39th president of the United States, in office from 1977 to 1981. He then worked for more than 4 decades leading the Carter Center, a non-government organization he and his wife, Rosalind, co-founded in 1982. Rosalind Carter died last year at age 96. The former president has been in home hospice care for the past 19 months in Plains, Georgia, where he was born on October 1st, 1924. In Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum has been sworn in as the country's first woman president. The 62-year-old former Mexico City mayor took the oath of office and received the presidential sash in a ceremony in Mexico's Congress. It marks the start of her 6-year term. The scientist-turned-politician faces a number of immediate challenges, the foremost being the country's high levels of violence. Sheinbaum vowed to bolster women's rights and ensure Latin America's #2 economy remains a secure destination for international investment. Back locally, today is the second day of the week-long National Day holiday. Many mainlanders travel to Hong Kong to take part in cultural activities. Lim Seng-ai reports.
Hong Kong has many tourist hotspots, with the University of Hong Kong being one of them. These tourists decided to join a guided tour and gain a deeper understanding of the city's oldest institution. In May, the university introduced a policy to regulate the number of visitors on the campus. Individuals who visit the site between Monday and Saturday must make a reservation through the university's online platform. On Sundays and public holidays, no reservation is required. Meanwhile, the guided tour of the university was launched in July, with the admission fee being $140 per person. On Tuesday, the number of mainland tourists in the city exceeded 220,000. That's the highest number of visitors on a single day since the start of the pandemic. However, the figure has not yet surpassed the tourist number on the first day of the National Day holiday in 2018, which was over 240,000. This snack shop in Causeway Bay, however, said they have to be creative to attract customers. The owner said the shop had received 10 or 20% more customers in the National Day holiday last year. He said mainlanders may not always come to Causeway Bay because they have now discovered other tourist attractions in the city, such as Sai-Kung. News 9, TVB News.
Major drone shows were cancelled for 2 consecutive nights as a result of ionospheric scintillation or fluctuations in radio waves. The consultant of the organizer responsible for the first drone show said they had tried to resolve the problems but had to eventually axe the show for safety reasons. One drone show was supposed to be part of the National Day celebrations on Monday night. The consultant responsible for the drone show said everything was normal until the last rehearsal at 6 to 7 p.m. About 25 minutes before the show, the monitoring system identified problems in the internet network linked to the drones. Attempts to fix the signal failed. At 9 p.m., the organizer was told to cancel the drone performance. Sky Yeung, chairman of the DNT-FPV Drone Association, noted an accurate GPS system is required to ensure that drones do not deviate from their designated paths and collide. He said deviation exceeding 5 centimeters could pose a danger to public safety. A recent survey found that 1/3 of Hong Kong people with short-sightedness have deep or high myopia. Having this more serious form of short-sightedness can drastically elevate the risks of developing severe visual impairments such as cataracts and glaucoma. Between August and September, Orbis Hong Kong and the Hong Kong Ophthalmological Society surveyed more than 1,432 people. It found that 34% of the respondents with short-sightedness suffered from high myopia of over -5 diopters or 500 degrees. Among these people with high myopia, 75% have symptoms of more serious eye diseases, including cataracts, glaucoma, retinal detachment, and degeneration. Just like 60-year-old Miss Ng here, whose nearsightedness was at around 500 degrees during primary school, but later developed to 2,000 degrees.
I couldn't see my body's face at the meeting. Everything is unclear. At that moment, I'm afraid I'll be blind.
Only after checkups does she realize that she only has 30% of her vision left because of her long-time high myopia. She also had to undergo cataract surgery. The Hong Kong Ophthalmological Society said, compared with those with regular visual acuity, the risk of people with high myopia developing glaucoma and cataracts are 3 and 6 times higher. The risks of retinal detachment and macular degeneration, 20 and 40 times higher, respectively. Dr. Emily Lee, president of the society, said such trends of poor eyesight could worsen with habits of modern lifestyle.
Like using cell phone in a very dark environment, and also extended screen time for more than 4 to 6 hours per day.
Doctors also recommended that the public should conduct eye examinations every year starting the age of 50. But for those with high myopia, the onset of degeneration can strike 5 to 10 years earlier. So they are recommended to undergo eye examinations every year starting the age of 40.
We want to let the public know that myopia is not just inconvenience. It's not just about wearing glasses, but high myopia is a disease. We have to take it seriously.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.